there's such thing as failure, there's only feedback. That failure or feedback is the breakfast of champions. That a lot of times when it comes to learning, which is my specialty, a lot of people do not learn faster because they are scared of failing. And notice when you see a child learn how to walk, they fall how many times? Hundreds of times, but they never stop and say, okay, this walking thing is not for me, I'm not going to do this anymore. But sometimes adults, we do that. We're scared, we try something once or twice, and we don't want to look bad to other people, so we mitigate and reduce our potential, we limit it. And so I feel like that difficult times, which people go through, they could define you, they could diminish you, or they could develop you. And ultimately, we decide. When I'm talking about failure also, it's be able to trust ourselves. So my advice would be to believe in yourself, because when you look at, I've had traumatic brain injuries and I had learning challenges, and I had bad falls, so I'm a little bit intimidated by heights. But if you look at a bird who's not intimidated by heights, it's sitting in a tree and it has calm, it has confidence, not because it puts its trust in the tree branch, but because it puts its trust in its own wings. So you need to be able to also believe in your own wings so that you can fly to new heights also as well. Okay, so 3 lessons I would focus on to be able, that I've learned in the past decade that would serve other people in the coming decade. Number 1, consistency. If you're persistent, you could get it, but if you're consistent, you get to keep it. And consistency is doing something a little bit every single day, and a little by little, a little becomes a lot. Because consistency compounds, it becomes greater. So I think consistency is very important. We talked about the expression of preparation, meaning that the best of the best, and I get to work with some amazing athletes and actors and musicians and academics. They prepare so much because what you practice in private, we are rewarded for in the public space, right? And so we hear that, but where does that practice come from? It comes from the preparation and scheduling that preparation every single day, because that's how you show up in our life. And the last thing I would say that could really support that I've learned in the past decade is that going back to failure, it's okay to make mistakes. That we make mistakes, mistakes do not make us. Meaning that the more mistakes we make, we can fail forward because we get that feedback. The goal though is to make mistakes 3 different ways. You want to make it old, O-L-D. When you make a mistake, the O stands for own that mistake. I've learned that it's important to take responsibility for the mistakes we make, which includes not blaming other people. Number 2, it also includes claiming it, that it's yours. Also, when you own a mistake, you apologize if you hurt somebody in the process. And part of owning a mistake is you try to fix that mistake. So the O in old mistake is own it. The L is you learn from that mistake. And it's important to be able to learn from this mistake because that's what mistakes are there for, to give you feedback, to be able to change courses. And then finally, the D in old, an old mistake, stands for don't repeat it. A lot of people think insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result. And I don't think that's insanity. I think it's just a bad memory. It's a poor memory. And I think that some people in business, they will hire the same kinds of people and they'll make that same mistake because they didn't learn it, so they're repeating it, right? Sometimes in business, they'll make the same kind of investments. They don't learn from the mistakes and then they're repeating it. So if you make a mistake once, that's a mistake, but if you do it again, then it becomes a choice because we haven't learned from it and we're still repeating that same mistake. I think it's very important to have a vision for where you want to go, and part of having a compelling vision in the future is clarity, because clarity is a superpower nowadays. And part of vision also is imagining something greater than it is and asking yourself the right kind of questions. Like questions like, how could I reach my 1-year goal in the next 3 months? Instead, that gives you clarity and it gives you a new answer, because questions really are the answer. So I would say in 2020, it's the clarity, and it's about the millennium of the mind. No longer are your entrepreneurs, are they paid for their brute strength? They're paid for their brain strength. It's not their muscle power, it's their mind power. And the faster you can learn, the faster you could earn. So for 2020, I want people to claim not just mental intelligence, but mental fitness. Just like having a personal trainer makes you stronger, makes you faster, makes you more fit, I want your most important muscle, which is your mind, to be stronger, faster, and more fit also as well. So train your brain.